Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video, and this is a paid request for Trevon. I'm sorry if I butchered your name. Trevon? But he sent in a topic. I apologize for the wait. I'm trying to get these out as soon as I can. I know that's the same excuse I use, but thank you for being patient and everybody, and for your kindness. But he sent in a very interesting topic. If anyone wants to send any other topics, or tier lists, or rankings, or movie reviews, or re-reviews, or video game playthroughs, commentary streams, whatever the case may be, you just send it either directly to my PayPal. Do have a CashApp as well. Links are down below in info box, and I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. And for those who sent them, thank you. I do appreciate it. So this is the way he worded it. If Bruce Lee lived past 1973 until now, or if Brandon Lee lived past 1993, until now, it's a few questions. One, how do you think cinema would be different with their presence? Two, of all the legends, Arnold, Stallone, Jackie Chan, Jet Li, Van Damme, who do you think they would work with the easiest or the hardest? Number three, what IPs and established franchises do you think they would work well in besides The Crow and Green Hornet? And number four, do you think either of them could become Oscar performance level actors at a certain point? Hope those aren't too many questions, or they give a good thought enough to explain in a video. No, thank you. I appreciate it. It does give good thought, because we've all thought about that. Those of us who are fans of action films or are fans of these two, we've always thought of the what if. What if they were still with us? What if they didn't die too young? Not to get into it, but you see some people and you go, why are they here? But these two passed away in their prime. It's a shame. It's not fair. And you think about it a bit, because they had a lot to offer. They had a lot to offer to the world. I know it's a selfish way of looking at it, because of course their family, their friends, their loved ones, having more of a family would have been the more important part. But selfishly, it's just getting to see more films from these two guys. Bruce Lee's Game of Death, the way he wanted it done, all the way through, I think would have become a pretty big hit for him. I think that would have helped establish him more as an international star. And Brandon Lee, I do think The Crow would have been a hit. Some argue, well, it's a hit because people were curious about the controversy. But the character is very striking enough, and the advertising was pretty good. The poster, the trailers. I think good word of mouth, I think, could have helped that as well. And yeah, a lot of stuff could have, would have, should have been done with these guys. How do you think cinema would be different with their presence? Bruce Lee, I think, may have helped a lot more Asian martial artists to maybe become part of the international lexicon sooner. Because if he had made more films that were more of a hit worldwide, you had Enter the Dragon, but if Game of Death and maybe even one or two more did it, then maybe other studios would be like, okay, let's open it up. Maybe this guy, maybe this guy, maybe this guy. Maybe we would have seen more 80s action Asian stars that were in leads of U.S. productions. Because he passed away 73, let's say he came out 73, 74, and then let's say he did another, like, that would have been cool to see. That maybe in the 80s. And how would Bruce Lee have done in the 80s? Like, Bruce Lee, would they have approached him for some of these big films that became part of our lexicon of action films? Bruce Lee, would they have approached him to do, say, Die Hard? Probably not, because they would have viewed him as too old. perhaps at that time, because that would have been, I mean, if that's 73, so that'd be like 15 years later. So they probably still go probably a younger guy, but you never know. It depends of how they would have pushed him, if his films were successful or not, what kind of films would he wanted to do, because he may not have just wanted to do action films. Maybe he wanted to do more epic films. I think Bruce Lee would have been like Clint Eastwood. I think his path would have been like Clint Eastwood. He would direct more, he would star in more films he directed, and I think Bruce Lee would have done a Western, perhaps an American Western, or at least an international production. And maybe there'd be some ups and downs throughout the 80s, but I think he maybe could have had a franchise where one character hits, and just like Clint Eastwood had with Dirty Harry, Stallone later had with Rocky and Rambo, Bruce Willis later with Die Hard, maybe he would have had that one film that would have garnered a franchise, and maybe he had not made that film yet. It's a whole woulda, coulda, shoulda thing. And yeah, I mean, you have a guy that really made it with Enter the Dragon, which, regardless of him passing away or not, it's still a damn good film. Now, maybe the hype of his death made that film bigger internationally because of the word of mouth. But I still think people go, oh, what's this film? He was still making waves. He was still making people look and go, who's that guy? And I do think if he kept the level of his quality into the 80s, you definitely would have seen more of him writing, directing, maybe working with production as well as working in Hong Kong. Kind of like what Jackie Chan would do. And you say, would it be different? If you think about it, there might not be a Jackie Chan if Bruce Lee had lived. I know this sounds stupid, but bear with me. Jackie Chan at that time was just a stunt guy. It wasn't until Bruce Lee died where they wanted Bruce Lee knockoffs, Bruce Lee imitators, Bruce Lee wannabes. So they tried to make Jackie Chan one of them. Bruce Exploitation, was it the new Fist of Fury or whatever it was? And he would get pushed into these things, and he's like, I don't want to do that. And his mantra was, I don't want to be the next Bruce Lee, I want to be the first Jackie Chan. Which led him to doing, okay, I want to do more comedy. I want to do more goofy stuff. I want to go away from all these people trying to copy Bruce Lee. I want to be my own. Well, if Bruce Lee had lived, would there have been a lot of people still trying to be like Bruce Lee? Would there still be a lot of people trying to copy him? Do Fist of Fury would not have occurred. Those other films would not have occurred. And then Jackie wouldn't have been so annoyed and being pressured to be that way that maybe it would not have pushed him to comedy. I don't know. I don't know if Jackie Chan's trajectory would have gone that route. I mean, hell, how cool would it have been if John Woo looked at Bruce Lee and put him in the Chow Yun-Fat role in The Killer or Hard Boiled? I really like Chow Yun-Fat Hard Boiled. Could you imagine if that was Bruce Lee? Just like you have Van Damme in Hard Target. Imagine that. You have all the guns, and once in a while he does some kicks and stuff, just like Van Damme did in Hard Target. You never know. Same with Brandon Lee. I mean, with Brandon Lee, I still think The Crow would have been a hit. And then he would have been offered roles. There was talks maybe that if The Crow was a hit, maybe they'd do a sequel. Maybe that would have been a maybe not, I don't know. There's talks of a sequel to Rapid Fire. Some say Mortal Kombat as Johnny Cage, but then some people say no, that was just a rumor. That wasn't really true. Unless, who knows, maybe they would have, hey, you see how, maybe they would have, maybe the studio would have been like, hey, The Crow's a big hit. Can you maybe offer more money? You sure you want to do with a little bit more money? And if he didn't do that, maybe he'd do other action films. Maybe Speed. Maybe Brandon Lee, maybe Fox will look at him and go, you know what, I know you want to do Rapid Fire 2, and you worked with the Rapid Fire 1, but we actually have this other script. You want to read the script to this film called Speed? Imagine if Brandon Lee got the role in Speed. If he was offered it, I know we're trying to do Rapid Fire 2, but how about this film Speed? Maybe he would have done Speed. The movie, that is. If he did that, that premise would have been a hit. He didn't just want to be the martial arts guy, and that film didn't really... It was originally perhaps going to be a Jeff Speakman film, and he was going to try to find a way to get off the bus and do fight scenes and get back on the bus. Would have been fun to see, but I love the film Speed as is. Maybe Brandon would have preferred that. I don't want to just be the martial arts guy. I want to be known as an actor, and this could be a different type of role. And if he did the film Speed, and that's a hit, who knows what could have been next? Maybe he could have had Keanu Reeves' career. Maybe. Maybe he could have been Neo in The Matrix. I could see Brandon Lee in The Matrix. I could see him as John Wick. Chad Stahelski worked on The Crow. In fact, when Brandon passed, there's a few scenes they need to shoot that feature the character. I think Chad Stahelski did those scenes, who later directed with the other guy the first John Wick, and then Chad Stahelski directed John Wick 2, 3, 4, while the other guy did Deadpool 2 and Bullet Train and other stuff. So maybe they did, hey, you know, I worked with that guy. How about him? The Wachowskis. I don't know where, I might have misread this, but I thought I read somewhere that one early idea, because they were wanting to make The Matrix for a while, for years and years, was Brandon Lee. Oh, hell. There was an interview with Stan Lee where he said, oh, I want to do this film Shang-Chi, and it'd be so cool if we got Brandon... No, not Shang-Chi. Not that one. Was it Iron Fist? Or was it Shang-Chi? There was a film that Stan Lee wanted to do. I can't remember if it was Shang-Chi or Iron Fist. Maybe it was Iron Fist. Something that he wanted Brandon Lee. At least that's what Stan Lee had said. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But as granted, on the flip side, what could have happened to Brandon Lee could have been what happened to, like, Mark Dacascos, or a number of other martial artists, Jeff Wincott or Jeff Speakman, that eventually they could have gone direct to video, do some action films, PM Entertainment, other stuff, New Image, to pay the bills. Although he wanted to be looked at as an actor, I think he would have tried to do more dramatic work. I think Bruce Lee, like I said, I think Bruce Lee would have been going more for the Clint Eastwood route, those type of films, while Brandon Lee, I could see him as a serious actor. I could. Which is, I know, one of the questions. I don't know about Oscar performance level, but I think Brandon Lee could have pulled some stuff out. Bruce Lee, maybe, I don't know, but Brandon Lee I could see, because I do think he improved. I always thought he was a good actor, but I still, like, Showdown in Little Tokyo, he's great with the banter and the humor, same with Rapid Fire, and then I thought he was even better in The Crow acting-wise. So yeah, I think he could have done some really bang-up stuff dramatic-wise. Would he be given the opportunities? That would have been... That's a different question. Do I think he could have done it? Yes. Do I think he would have been offered it? I don't know. Maybe if he was successful enough and he's like, okay, I'll give you this movie, but I want to do this kind of movie too. I don't. Now you say of all the legends, Arnold, Stallone, Jackie, what would be the easiest or hardest to work with? Well, try to think. I don't know, because I think Bruce Lee, maybe at one point he would have tried to work with someone. I think, I have a feeling of those guys, because again, we don't know if Jackie Chan would have been a thing or not, or even Jet Li. Let's say they were, then maybe Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan would like to work together. Maybe Bruce Lee, Jet Li would like to work together one day. And I mean, Jackie Chan technically did work with Bruce Lee. Where was it the Chinese Connection? Where there's the guy that gets kicked and he flies through and goes through a wall. Jackie did the stunt, and it went a bit wrong. And Bruce Lee's like, "Are you okay?" "Yeah, I'm okay." And Bruce Lee was nice to him. And if you watch Enter the Dragon, the famous scene before he does the nunchucks, he's fighting the guys. He grabs this one guy and you see it like this. And then the camera goes right to Bruce Lee's face and you get the idea he breaks the neck. Well, the guy he's holding is Jackie Chan. This guy like the grimace. That's Jackie Chan. So, yeah, I think later on they could have worked together. Maybe even Donnie Yen. Of those Americans, I would say Stallone maybe. Because I think Stallone maybe he would have seen... I think if he saw Rocky, I have this feeling, if Bruce Lee saw Rocky, he would have been a big fan. He would have been drawn to that. And he's like, who's this guy? And then followed him. Kind of like Jackie Chan would do. So I think Rocky seems like a story Bruce Lee would gravitate towards. I don't know why, I just think it that way. And then maybe sometime in the 80s, the two of those guys worked together. Maybe 86, maybe 87. Which that would have been cool to see. Arnold, he didn't really work with other action stars. I think he was mainly centered on his solo career, trying to establish himself. I mean, hell, at that time, it would have been just like Pumping Iron or Stay Hungry, and it wasn't until Conan the Barbarian 82 get his foot in, then The Terminator 84, and maybe later on, like he did that thing with Jackie Chan that I still haven't seen. Maybe he would do something like that much later in his career. Maybe Brandon and Bruce would have been in the Expendables. Maybe. You never know. Maybe that would have been the case. That would have been cool to see. For some reason, Van Damme, I would say, would be the hardest. Because Van Damme, I still think if his trajectory was the same, he still would have had his bipolar. He still would have been into the drugs. He still, in his early career, would have been, screwing himself over, hard to work with. If you talk to people who worked on Hard Target and stuff. Bit of an ego, cocaine. So I think he would have been the hardest. Steven Seagal especially would have been the hardest as well. Brandon Lee, I think he could have worked very well with Jet Li. I think Brandon Lee and Jet Li would have worked very well together. Eventually with Jackie Chan, because I know if Jackie Chan existed, I know he was a fan of Jackie Chan because his films had nods to Jackie Chan. There's that bit in Rapid Fire with the motorcycle going through glass. That was a bit from Police Story. A nod to Police Story. So maybe if he rose, maybe later on him and Jackie Chan try to work together. I mean, you see IPs. Bruce Lee, I don't think would have gravitated towards IPs. He would have just wanted to make his own films like Clint Eastwood did. And then if it eventually becomes a franchise, then it does, naturally. Like the Dirty Harry films. Which I know Clint Eastwood didn't... He didn't direct the first one, but he directed... Didn't he direct two of them? He directed, I think, Sudden Impact. No, maybe it was just Sudden Impact he directed. I can't remember who did... Okay, Sudden Impact he directed. Just one of them. Just, I think, someone else directed Madam Force. And then the guy who did Pink Cadillac, he did the Deadpool. Now, it would have been cool, like maybe it would have been cool to see Bruce Lee's version of a Die Hard movie. Brandon Lee would have been cool to see him do, The Matrix. John Wick. Again, I could see him being John Wick. I could absolutely see him be that character. I think Brandon Lee would have tried to do some comedy and some drama. I think Bruce Lee would have, again, kind of be comfortable in his own zone, try to follow movies with his own philosophy, wanting to put a little bit more, his own deeper thoughts amongst the action. I think he would have tried to stick with that, at least for the rest of the 70s, maybe the start of the 80s. Like a lot of people, their star would dim eventually, and then maybe, Bruce Lee maybe would have worked with Chuck Norris. Chuck go, hey, I'm being a star. Lone Wolf McQuade. I could see Chuck Norris going, hey, Bruce, you want to do Lone Wolf McQuade? Hey, you killed me in a movie, and I was the villain. Want to do me the favor here? And maybe Bruce wouldn't really do that, but he's like, well, it's Chuck, and he did let me kill him in a movie, so maybe I'll do this. Maybe. Do you imagine Lone Wolf McQuade if it was Chuck Norris and Bruce Lee? The rematch, only Chuck Norris is the good guy? I mean, would Bruce Lee have ever played a bad guy? Maybe. I mean, Brandon Lee already had, I think, was it an episode of Kung Fu? He was kind of a villain. Or was it, or something else? Maybe it was it that Pat Morita TV show? O'Hara? Like, there was something where he played a bad guy. I can't remember. Any idea I could see them, either one of them or both of them in the Expendables. But it definitely would have been a different landscape. I think Brandon Lee, to repeat, he might have had one or two films that flop, and then, you know what, he was 15 minutes of fame, and they'll just put him direct-to-video land. Like what happened to a lot of action stars when the 90s ended down to 2000s. A lot of these stars, Dolph Lundgren, Van Damme, Steven Seagal, like a lot of them went direct-to-video route. Even for a bit, Jeff Speedman, for a bit, Gary Daniels, for a bit, all these guys. So, unless he was able to get films like Speed or The Matrix or other stuff, he could have fell into that direct-to-video hole. And maybe he would have been like, I don't want to do acting anymore, I'll just do other stuff. Or, again, don't know for certain, of course. But man, it would have been nice to see, wouldn't it? Would have been so nice to see. And just Bruce and Brandon doing a film together. I think Bruce maybe would have been willing to do a film with his son. Some father and son story. What the story would have been, I don't know, but hell, it would have been cool to see Bruce Lee do like a Taken. Meaning, he's older, and just like Liam Neeson, he's old, but he's able to showcase an action film for new audience. Maybe that Bruce Lee could have done that too. Or he would have gone again the Clint Eastwood route, like In the Line of Fire, like showcases his age, but then be able to do some stuff here that I don't. We'll never know, sadly. But yeah, it's nice to think. It's nice to pontificate on it. And this is to you guys. If Brandon Lee, if Bruce Lee, if they had lived, what do you think could have happened? What do you think would have happened? Definitely some good food for thought. So with that said, thanks for watching, take care, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye for now.